Football stadiums often take a while to get built, but construction for this one behind me started way back in 2007. It was meant to be the new home of Valencia Football Club, but all these years later, it still looks like that. So that begs the question, what on earth has happened here? I've come to the city itself to explore one of Spanish footballing's most interesting and bizarre stories. So as we mentioned before, building for the stadium began in 2007, August 2007 to be exact, and it was all the plans of then President Juan Soler, who a year before had finalised plans to build the stadium behind me. Now this was a time, don't forget, that while Valencia may not be playing the best at the moment in the Liga, they'd actually won 2 league titles in the first 5 years of the 2000s. So the president obviously wanted to keep competing with the major clubs like Barcelona and Real Madrid, and what better way to do that than build a 72,000 capacity seater stadium to move the club forward. So with confidence in the air and ground being broken at the stadium, the club set an opening date for the stadium for the start of the 2009 to 2010 season. But some of you may have already noticed that the dates 2007 to 2009 have many connotations when we think about finances, and that's a key part of this story. Of course, the global financial crash caused havoc to the Spanish economy during this period, with one of its worst affected industries being real estate. This was a critical blow for Valencia, as the main part of their financial plan to fund the new stadium's construction had revolved around selling plotted land where the Mestalla Stadium stands. President Juan Soler had envisaged such sales as being enough to cover a large portion of the construction costs. But with the real estate crash pounding property prices across the country, the club's estimations of the value of this land ended up being far off their near value. This eventually led the club to have accumulated debts of close to €550 million by the beginning of 2009. Then, in February, just a few months before the stadium's originally envisaged opening date, construction dramatically stopped. Now, 14 years after that decision to halt construction, it still sits in that very state. Its vast concrete shell is a daily reminder to both fans and other residents of the city of what could have been. So let's take a closer look as we walk around the stadium to get a better idea of where we stand today. If I just put the camera above the fence here, you'll get a really good idea for just how abandoned the stadium actually is. Now it really makes you think of, what nights the club could have had here and how it could have almost been one of the best stadiums in the world. At least that's what I feel when I look at it in person here. And you can see things, probably just left here since when they abandoned it in 2009. You've got bushes growing, basically near trees growing there. And as a footballing fan, it's almost quite a sad sight to see, what could have been with this stadium. So you can see here just one of the massive concourses really outside the stadium. You can just imagine, 70,000 people streaming into the stadium to watch games here. At least that's what they had in the plans. And just look at the size of it. It's absolutely huge, and you can imagine how good it would have looked if they'd actually managed to complete it. And you can see it basically from all angles. That's another view of just how abandoned it is. You can actually see just in there, that's basically, the concourse of where it would have gone into the ground. And it's just like this. This is probably one of the maddest views from there. Just look at that, look at the size of it. And you can just imagine all those fans walking into the ground there. Just to give you a real feel of how bizarre this site is, we've just got people living here in flats, etc., and it just opens up basically into this big uncompleted stadium. And I suppose that really touches upon the point of how used to the sight of this that people really are around here. When you've been walking past it for 13 years, it just becomes part of the city, really. It's just that people have just got used to the fact that there's just this uncompleted stadium, and it's quite bizarre, to be honest, just to be here and just experience it. Just to be clear on one thing, The club and city authorities haven't just left the stadium here without any attempts to rekindle the dream of finishing its construction. In the years that have followed, there have been several attempts by the club to find the finances to convince contractors and city authorities that the stadium will be able to meet its end goal. However, that's been a hard task to complete, and here's some key dates to look upon in this process. December 2011. The club announces a deal with Spanish bank Bankia that would see them exchange their land for their Mestalla stadium in return for the required funds. This deal then collapsed in 2013. This is the year when the club first played with an idea of reducing the stadium's capacity to 61,500. Those plans never got off the ground, no pun intended. 2017. Another plan to drop the stadium capacity was brought about while negotiation with Valencia City Council began. That plan failed as well. December 2021, another plan to reduce the capacity, this time to between 43,000 and 50,000 seats, was brought forward to the Valencian government. And you guessed it, that failed too. And that's because in October 2022, the Valencian government stated that no plan that involves the stadium being reduced below 70,000 seats will be accepted. So that leaves us where we're at today. Now there's still weekly news articles speculating that the club have finally found a way to move forward with the stadium. But given it's been 13 years, there's not much hope amongst the fans, and there is a feeling that every time one of these articles comes out, it's just, oh, here we go again. They've got another way to do it, which will always fall through. So it does seem that just like that stadium, the city's just admitted that it's just stuck with the whole thing. But let's not forget, the club already has one of Spanish football's most iconic grounds. And as we mentioned before, that's the Mestalla, which in 2023 will be celebrating its 100th birthday. As we always ask here, what do you think? Leave a comment below on what you think about this bizarre stadium that I'm stood in front of. And also, here's a question for you. Would you rather a new stadium like that, or would you rather say the club stuck with its iconic Mestalla stadium? That's one that I've been asking myself while I've been here, and it's a hard one to answer. The Mestalla is an amazing stadium, but we may never fully get to know how good this would have been if it stays in a certain state. And of course, make sure to subscribe to the Partido, where we'll be having lots more content from the Spanish-speaking footballing world, but in English. And as always, nos vemos.